All right, y'all, I just came here to be messy.
I'm the librarian, and I came to read.
I woke up today, I was like, it's been a minute since we had a cute little session, since we, the Adrian Army gathered around the campfire and we roasted marshmallows, or your faves, and had a good ass time. So that's exactly what's about to happen on this Saturday. Now the sun is shining, it's a beautiful well, the sun is barely shining, girl. It was raining yesterday, and that's why I fell asleep so goddamn quick. But yes, we're here now. Make sure that you go to youtube.com/AdrianExtra. That's where you can find my nerdy stuff that I have going on. I just started watching Hunter x Hunter, and I'm going to be talking about it a little bit on that channel. So if you want that type of content, make sure that you subscribe over there. Now I'm going to make sure I post on it at least a couple times a week, and it's slowing down just a little bit just because we have For the Culture Podcast that has come back, finally has returned. Make sure you go to fortheculturepodcast.com and listen to our latest episode. I guess we can say it's season 2. It's entitled Busted Down Grammyana, so you can only imagine what that's about. I would suggest that you go check it out. Everyone seemed to be having a good Valentine's Day. I mean, even Beyonce seemed like she was blowing a kiss at me. I'm just like, hey sis, what's the tea? I'm waiting on a documentary. These girls were over here booed up. I'm not sure if you're even watching this video and you're still booed up. I'm not sure if you spent the weekend riding peen or running around getting the sexual activity that you so deserved. But I was not booed up. I was sitting over here. The only thing I'm booed up really is with this editing software, so y'all subscription box can be lit up. And I'm sure my other single people can relate. Single people, make some noise. You are not alone. Now, who is first on the list? Who's gonna be first? Let's talk about Floyd Mayweather and T.I., this whole situation. We already know what's going on with Gucci, right? We already know a lot of these companies, they love to participate in this competition, and what this competition is how angry can we get black people so that we can get eyes on our websites and products. So instead of hiring actual advertising, people who work in advertising and actual marketing firms, they just go ahead and say, make the niggas angry, and that will increase our analytics. So we already know that's what they do. So Floyd Mayweather said, fuck all that shit, y'all can be mad for no reason. I'm going into Gucci and I'm buying all that shit. He apparently had a shopping spree in Gucci and said, y'all just gonna be pressed about it. And then all these niggas started clowning him, T.I. included. I mean, they went back and forth. Now, after he got clowned, apparently Floyd Mayweather released this statement that we all know that he didn't write. Girl, we all know he didn't write this shit, but I mean, I just found it interesting how he's saying, the statement is saying, I guess, because I don't want to say he's saying it. The statement that has been put on his Instagram is saying that all y'all niggas talking all this shit, but y'all still gonna buy Gucci. And he's saying if y'all want to boycott Gucci, you need to boycott everything else that falls under the caring ownership, such as YSL, Balenciaga, and Alexander McQueen. Floyd Mayweather picked the right person to write this statement, but the messenger is where it falls flat. Like, this is really tough talk coming from, an abuser. I mean, if we're talking about the whole, 50 Cent was dogging your ass out, so was T.I. All y'all niggas are trash in my opinion. It's just crazy to see suddenly niggas who didn't give a shit about any of this before, they turn into fake sociologists, they turn into fake analysts when they start getting their shit rocked for being the reactionary assholes that they are. Like, girl, if y'all really wanted to break this shit down, you would have. All of a sudden, y'all niggas can use your brains when you're getting dragged. It's not making any sense to me, girl. That's why T.I. dragged the shit out your ass in his song called Fuck Nigga. He just released it. He said, girl, Clinton was so close to where you were as a child that you ain't been helping their ass out. He's like, girl, you have all this money, but what are you using it for? So I think those are important questions, but the industry as a whole is garbage. That's why I said previously in the conversation about Gucci, I said, if we're gonna talk about this shit, we need to have actual celebrities going up there and putting up and coming black designers, black LGBT designers. I mean, a lot of times their shit gets stolen. Their shit gets stolen by these big brands that y'all are wearing on the red carpet. So it's like, if we change the fashion industry like that, you can flip it upside down. Because we know these big brands don't care about our black asses, but y'all are, a lot of black celebrities are still wearing it just because it's seen as luxury. It's a luxury brand, so I'm gonna fucking wear it. It's like, girl, we create the wave, we are the wave. So once we understand that, I think we can get rid of this bullshit. Some of this discourse, this ghost written discourse that some of your faves like to publish, is nowhere to be found at any other time other than when somebody put their ass on the chopping block. So get this disingenuous bullshit out my face. And speaking of niggas who coon, Monique put this video on Instagram and I almost lost my mind.
We black out here. We can't come out here and do it any kind of way we want to.
He own you. He can do anything he want with you. There ain't nothing you can do about it.
Money game. This ain't the black man's game. This ain't the white man's game. This is the money game.
Scratching and scrambling most of my days to get where I got.
Not sacrifice yourself. The best thing you can do for poor people is not be one of them.
I eats in the big house kitchen. I got pine boards on the floor of my cabin.
This is exactly what I was trying to say in my points about, you know, this whole Steve Harvey and Monique situation that I talked about last video. I guess each person has to decide for themselves how much money really means to them. Like I said on Twitter, it would be naive of me to act like the industry isn't a game, but I said some of our faves don't even know what they have sacrificed, and they can't even see what they have sacrificed to be players in that game. And just because other people have decided, hey sis, I'm not going to be, like, I could do certain things, but other things I'm not going to be able to do no matter how much money y'all be talking about throwing in my face. I'm not going to be mistreated. That's the route that other people decide to take. But at the end of the day, y'all still niggas. And so no matter how high you think you climbing up in that hierarchy, sis, at the end of the day, they will remind you who you are very quickly, Steve Harvey. And that's why they was selling your shit without you even knowing, girl. And we're gonna keep it moving. So I also want to make sure that we know that Colin Kaepernick and the NFL have apparently settled. The amount, I think, is not disclosed. I mean, I looked around to see how much money that nigga was gonna get paid. I think that the amount was not disclosed, especially after I saw news saying that they basically signed an NDA saying that either party, neither Colin Kaepernick nor the NFL, can comment further on this specific situation. But estimates are around the tens of millions of dollars that they paid this man. I mean, salary for what this nigga would have been playing. So it's just, whoo, I don't know much about football, but I do know a little thing about coin, and he got all that shit. So it's just funny because Steve and people like Steve act like, you know, you can't hold on to your integrity and get the bag at the same time. Now granted, it's almost guaranteed to be much more difficult depending on whatever situation you're looking at. But if you're saying that the current situation looks like, oh, well, you have to discard your integrity to get the bag, you as somebody who has a strong voice in whatever industry you're talking about, why don't you stand up and try to change that shit? Now, it will involve sacrifice, obviously, but I guess it just depends on what you believe in and if you believe it is worth the damn effort. Ooh, there are a bunch of questions surrounding Jussie Smollett and this whole situation, and I would be a dumbass bitch. I would be lying if I said that these questions and concerns are coming out of nowhere, okay? The story is running around here like a fucking chicken with its head cut off. Niggas need answers, and we need answers quickly. And that's all I'm gonna say on that. We need answers that make sense as soon as possible. Now, before I get into speaking about it even further, let me just say this. I'm not gonna be sitting over here apologizing to and or for any of your goddamn faves who jumped up like they often do to discredit the victim as soon as they hear the news. I'm not going to do it, especially when it involves black gay men. A lot of times black gay men are the only, like black LGBT are the only ones that we have. So if I see a story like that, I'm gonna be like, bitch, what's the tea? My motherfucker got fucked up, and we need to get down to the bottom of these facts. So a lot of your faves jump up to discredit the victim as soon as possible. They even do that shit with sexual assault. A lot of your faves tap dance like that. So I'm gonna continue to believe, especially marginalized people, black LGBT people, when they come up here saying that they've been attacked or something happened, I'm gonna believe it. We're going to make sure that we get down to the bottom of the facts. We're gonna go and do an investigation. We're gonna see what happened. Now, that was stage 2 of the process. I'm currently stuck on stage 2, sis. I'm stuck on stage 2. We're trying to get the facts, right? We're trying to make sure that if this happened in the way that Jussie said that it did, we're trying to make sure that we get down to the bottom of this. So as we're getting down to the bottom, you see we're in the lake, as we're getting down to the bottom of this shit, as we're swimming down, the water's getting a little bit murky. The water is getting a little bit murky. Sis, if you have not been following it, I suggest that you do. The water's getting murky, in my opinion. Now, there are a lot of people who say, you know, we can't trust the Chicago PD, and I completely understand that shit. Like, oh my God, I understand that. But at the same time, it's just, there are a lot of questions. There's too many holes. There's too many, like, fallacies going. I'm just like, okay, it's getting a little bit harder to connect these dots. And if I connect them in a more, I would say, cohesive way, they're leading me someplace else, okay? And if we're talking about these Nigerian brothers who work on the set, if we're talking about the fact that, you know, these redacted ass fucking phone records, if we're talking about the actual situation, his actual story, if we're talking about the interview that happened on ABC, if we're also talking about the fact that he went and hired somebody who represented Michael goddamn Cohen, I have questions. And I'm hoping by the end of this week or wherever that they get answered. I mean, even they brought those Nigerian brothers in, they arrested them and they said, you know what, girl, we're going to release you because we can't charge you, but based off of new evidence, received from the interrogation, we have more investigative work to do. I have theories and I'm sure you guys have too. I have questions and I'm sure you guys have too. And if they are not answered in a way that I think is acceptable, girl, we have another roast coming. That's all I'm gonna say. I hope to y'all's Crocs wearing, long-haired white Jesus. I hope to him that I am incorrect about this shit. All I'm saying is that I'm not a mathematician, but if this shit don't add up, there's gonna be another roast, okay? Especially since people already hate and don't believe our black LGBT asses. And if you're in a position, especially in a position of privilege, and a lot of eyes and visibility and power, and if you misuse that shit, it delegitimizes us even fucking further, even after we've been doing all this work. So I hope for his wig's sake that something comes through and makes sense of this shit, because as of right now, the water is murky. So for the last part of this video, I want to go ahead and talk about what's going on in the Shabby Shack. Y'all know I like to give y'all at least a little bit of an update to see how badly we're spiraling in DC as of right now. So I think Paul Manafort is getting like recommendation for sentencing, or his sentencing is currently in process. And in one of them documents, they said that so I think they're going to give him like 19 to 24 years in prison, and they said that we don't give a fuck about his age. This is what they said in one of these documents. They're saying that Manafort's age does not eliminate the risk of recidivism that he poses. Now, recidivism is just like, will he do this shit again? Will he pose a risk to the laws that he broke getting in here in the first place? So we can get him out faster if he doesn't pose a risk, but if he does, we need to keep his ass in here. And they said, girl, he's been doing this shit for so long, like over a decade. He was tampering with witnesses and he lied to the government. So they said, girl, yeah, fuck your age at this point. You're gonna probably get up to 2 decades in prison. Just give me y'all an update on that. Now, this whole Trump national emergency thing has got people so goddamn shook. They of course had talks trying to make sure, in negotiations, I guess, trying to make sure that the government does not shut down again. So they tried to give his ass a little bit of what he wants, like I think 1 point something billion when it comes to border security or whatever. He wanted like 5 or some shit. They said, girl, you're not getting that shit. So he knew he wouldn't get that shit. And that bill is a reason why we can avoid this government shutdown, but at the same time, he's trying to make sure that he appeases his base a little bit by doing this whole national emergency bullshit, just saying that, okay, if anything happens, at least I fought for it. So he's trying to declare this national emergency, saying that we need this border wall. He's going to try and pull money from areas, tax money and shit, even though he said Mexico was going to pay for that shit. Now, Trump has the executive power to declare a national emergency, but the courts and Congress and shit, they can sue his ass. They can legally challenge it. That's what is definitely going to happen, and I know that it is, because he out of his own mouth said, I didn't need to do this, meaning he didn't need to declare a national emergency. I just wanted it done faster. That's what he said. So if you didn't need to do something, then you don't need to be trying to act like this shit is an actual national emergency, okay? Now, the thing that is alarming is the fact that he said this.
We'll have a national emergency, and we will then be sued, and they will sue us in the Ninth Circuit, even though it shouldn't be there, and we will possibly get a bad ruling, and then we'll get another bad ruling, and then we'll end up in the Supreme Court, and hopefully we'll get a fair shake, and we'll win in the Supreme Court.
He's over here saying, essentially, I have the Supreme Court loaded, so, I have it in my pocket, so y'all can throw all the tantrums that you want. At the end of the day, I'm gonna get what the fuck I want. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going on. I just think that it sets a precedent, like Nancy Pelosi said when she was talking about this whole thing. It sets a precedent for what the president, like what powers the president actually has. Because she was like, what does that mean when it comes to having a Democratic president? What powers, what executive powers will they have? Now, if we're talking about the Supreme Court, I think that Trump definitely has Kavanaugh in his fucking pocket. I think that for sure. But if this case ever does get to the fucking Supreme Court, it will set the groundwork, it will set the framework for what else this president can get away with. So in that respect, I think we should definitely keep our eyes on that. It might take, I don't know how long these things take to move through these courts, but this will definitely be something to watch. Now, he's not a king yet. He's not a king yet. That's why I said these people who are against him trying to pull this fucking major bullshit, they're going to legally challenge him, but we'll see what loopholes and shit he'll try to grease his tired ass, barnyard hay built ass toupee through. And even Ann Coulter was dragging his ass, which I found shocking. I was just like, my God, the Wicked Witch from the West, Green Goblin from Spider-Man face ass, and she really dissing Trump. She's like, you're just trying to scam the stupidest people in your base. I was like, okay, take your racist ass on somewhere. That's like the pot calling the kettle kitchenware. I just sit your Mucinex monster built ass down somewhere, Ann Coulter. And on that note, I hope that we can get Sarah Huckleberry Finn ass Sanders and her what? Superman built, Cyborg built, Captain Underpants built ass chin to stop using the Notes app, the iPhone Notes app, as a way to release official press releases from the fucking White House, okay? And you can have a good goddamn evening.